All right, welcome everybody to the September 11th Ortelius architecture meeting. Let me go ahead and pull up. So, for those that weren't on the outreach on Monday, we have Hacktoberfest coming up. Um, so I put together some issues around Hacktoberfest. I'm going to bring those up right now. I'll make my screen a little bit bigger so you can see them. Issues. Now, when I put them together, if you're interested in one of them, I did not get a chance to get into all the exact details on the issue itself. So, like if we go to convert the CLI from Python to Go, um, just a basic summary I've put in. So if you're interested in any of these, even remotely, just go ahead and assign yourself and just use at SBTaylor15 and send me a message that you need more detail on it. And I can chime in and add, we can kind of go through in the issue exactly what needs to be done. So there's a few out here. I have a couple more on my list, and I think more
Steve,
will come
before you
out.
move
Yeah,
on, just a
yep.
quick one on 982. I'm actually interested trying to do a bit of coding this time. I'm just wondering roughly how much efforts will be required for 982. I'm familiar with Python, but haven't done Go, so probably just need to
982.
learn Go on the fly.
This one's interesting because I took our repo
Mm-hmm.
and there's just like a couple files in there, a couple Python files,
Okay.
and I sent it through. I can't remember if I used Gemini or ChatGPT to convert it. So that was one of the things I did was I instead of redoing it all by because it's pretty lengthy, the
Mm-hmm.
CLI
Yeah.
that I used the AI, one of the AI tools to do the conversion.
Yeah.
Um, there may be another one that is for doing some coding, like this badge one. These couple badge ones are would be in Python or Go, depending on which way we want to, which way you want to do it. So 976 and 975 would probably be easier ones. This one, it's probably a 3,000, 4,000 line Go
Okay.
Python program. So,
Okay. I pick an easy one to start with first then.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'd look at one of these two, the
Okay.
badging ones.
Okay. Sure.
Like I said, there will be some more. Arvin, uh, this one I signed to you, I believe. Let me just double check.
Yes.
Okay. If you could wrap that up by Monday, because we need to get that over to Roxanne.
Uh, I will update this. I will work on it like today after the call.
Okay. It shouldn't be a big deal. It should be maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of work, probably half hour at the most. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
And we'll wait until basically October 1st before we'll do a flood of PRs October 1st. So we'll get everything out there staged and things like that. But we won't do any of the merges. That way, these things will count. We can, basically start working on them early and go from there.
A quick
There
quick
was,
question, Sylvia.
yeah, what was that, Ukarsh?
Yeah, I was going through the issues and I saw that we haven't included any front-end related work here. I was just wondering, we have like something related to UI as well, so that we have the broader spectrum to contribute to Ortelius.
Yeah, I didn't put any real UI stuff in place. So what I did was mostly the back end work for now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so mostly stuff around the MCP uh, at that level, getting that in place, and being able to do a lot of the plumbing. And then once we have that kind of sorted out and a better feel for the way things are going to kind of run, then we can go ahead and do the front end side of things. So like even like this one here, adding another endpoint to get high and critical vulnerabilities. That's a back end piece that will trickle down that be used with the MCP and some of the other pieces. So a couple of these may be dependent upon other ones, but that was my thought process to start with, was to get the back end pieces kind of plumbed together and then see where we're at to figure out what the front end side is going to look like. That was my thought.
Okay.
Well, does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
And this one, like I said, where did it go? Architecture. So this is the one that you opened, Ukarsh. Um, with the design and stuff like that. I think from here, I added another possible flow to the scenario. I think this one will, once we dive back into it, that we may end up with a few more issues to work on. So the list isn't a finite list. I have a feeling that we're going to end up breaking things out into a couple more issues and kind of tackle it in smaller chunks at that level. Uh, did you create a repo yet, or is it still on your private under your user ID? The work that you
There
did.
should be one repo. There should be one repo. But looks like E2B has stopped their couple of functionality. They are not providing the sandbox environment now. So yeah, that won't be functional. I'm afraid. So
Yeah,
yeah, yep, yep.
yeah. So I had an idea on what, because that sandbox environment may not be available. Um,
Yeah, for that reason, I was using sub process to just use the agent to do all those things. And ideally, we don't need any sandbox because they should be an agent, right? So we can utilize the space of that agent.
yeah.
Um,
So one of
if
the
we are
things I
not,
was,
yeah.
one of in this scenario that I added was, um, once we figure out that we have to do, we make our change to like the package JSON file, that we then go ahead and fork the upstream repo, and we clone it, and then we apply our fix to the clone, and then we push to that forked repo, and then we check the build there. So we're actually running in a closer environment than kind of standing up a temporary one at that level. So that was one of the things I thought that we could do at that level. There is another scenario that I was thinking that we could do is we can we can utilize, in order, this is basically to cheat and get free resources. So to get free resources, we could have a worker repo, for lack of a better word, that in our process, that when we find we have our change that we need to apply, that we dynamically create a like a GitHub workflow that does the clone and the build and stuff like that in this workflow, this workload repo, and that we end up building multiple projects in that work repo. And the same thing could apply to Jenkins. So instead of us configuring a Jenkins project for every single repo, we'd have a Jenkins work runner repo. I'm still working out the terminology that we would submit a Jenkins file to that would check out, do the build and all that stuff. So what ends up happening is we end up utilizing these build tools more for a dynamic, action or Jenkins file being thrown at them to do the work. That way we just get free resources without having to run like our own build runner in our Kubernetes cluster, for example, which gets really expensive really quick.
Okay. Okay.
I'll write up what I'm talking about so it's easier to follow. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but so that's where we're going to be. Feel free to add in any other new issues, or if we need to break some out. This is really early on. We got a couple weeks before Hacktoberfest starts at that level. So, and if I miss like this one, I just didn't go back into the previous issues. So you just go to labels and just apply the Hacktoberfest label to it. And there's also ways to do it post PR type of thing that DigitalOcean will pick up. Let me see if refresh will. So that's what we kind of got going on. I'm trying to think what else was on our list. There is some work outside of specific coding changes that Tracy's been working on around the CI/CD cybersecurity. We are going to build a landscape diagram based on the CD Foundation landscape diagram, so that's in the works. Also, if you want to contribute to any of that, let me show you what it looks like.
Do you know if I don't know if we're going to be part of the of Hacktoberfest. It's a really good point. I should bring that up to Roxanne.
Yeah, we could sneak it under ours if we need to.
I hate to. I think we should talk to that team and see if they want to participate.
Yeah. Let me see if I have it here. There it is. It's kind of hidden right now because it's a work in progress. And I'm working with Roxanne to get that sorted out. So it's been broken into 3 high-level categories, and then it's all based on the NIST Secure Software Framework. And what it does is it goes through and says for PO 2.1, which is this requirement, what's the tool that you would use to satisfy it? And there's a lot of tools that popped up that I didn't even know about. It's amazing the number of tools that are out there to satisfy some of these things. So take a look at that.
How we can help on this one then?
Tracy, I think right now it's just going to be a review that folks need to take a look at.
No, let me talk to the CI/CD group. I think what we probably would do is probably create some pull requests around each of the categories, and maybe we ask them to review and add. So I'll talk to Roxanne. I'll send an email to her and ask her if she'd like us to participate. I'll send it to the entire team. I'll do that right now.
And this stuff is getting moved around, so I'm not going to send you the links because we're working on and getting like a subdomain through the Linux
Well, go ahead and
Foundation.
send her the links. just get involved in the project. And that will help the process. And to do that, Steve, if you go back to that page,
It has to join our team.
yeah, join our team, and you can see where you can join, and then you'll be part of the discussion. You'll get emails. You'll know when the meetings are. That would be the best way to get involved in that. And I'll send a note out to that team to ask them if they want to in Hacktoberfest this year.
So that's just a kind of like a side project from our changes that we're working on. So that's what I have for today. Anybody else have anything else?
Question, Steve. I remember you asked me to reverse engineering the spawn file from the Jenkins release.
Right.
Is there any follow-up work for this one?
It is that is the issue that we have out here, and what we'll need to do is I'll add on to some of the make additional comments to that, because I think based on what you found and what they have, that we'll be able to use some of the like the RSS feed or their download and deploy piece that will be able to go ahead and hook into their process at that level. And then Arvin found that website that allows you to kind of like monitor releases when a release happens. So we may be able to use something like that as well.
Okay, so we're going to continue working on that, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
And of course, they create SIFT S-bombs, which are just horrible.
I was just wondering whether I'm sure they might release the later version. Do we need, based on their later version, and then do a comparison of their spawn file, or we're going to using?
What we'll do is that's one of the things I have to look at the I don't have my formatter installed. I have to look at their SBOM file to see how accurate it is, to determine what level they're generating, how they're generating it basically. And I can tell that from looking at the POM file, I mean the SBOM file, to see if they use the POM file or if they used like a Docker scan of the image.
All right, it's fine.
So yes, this is still happening. We'll keep on working with it.
Okay.
Because part of the piece that we still want to do is add in. So there's kind of two major things that we're going to be working on. One is around the MCP stuff, and the other side is going to be around the Jenkins stuff. So that's kind of like the two big splits that we're going to have that come into play. So like yours here with the SBOM and the Jenkins WAR file is going to feed into the next one up here, 985. So you'll see where some of these are tied together.
Okay.
I am curious, Steve, has there already been work done on a client side of an MCP server, or have we started work outside of Ortelius?
No, and that's like this one here, 984. Create an MCP based on our CLI.
Okay.
Our CLI does a bunch of things. It has like import export functionality. It has like approvals and ability to move versions around. And
Okay.
we just really need to look at so update component is basically create a new component version, a new application version, and the deployment feature is to log where an application versions have been deployed to which environment. So we really just need to focus the MCP around those two pieces of the CLI.
Okay. I might want to, and as I told you, I showed you a screenshot of. I've taken a couple of stabs, excuse me, I've taken a couple of stabs at vibe coding up in MCP. I have a couple of the tools working. I just pushed a new version. I will open up the repository. Warning is it's vibe coded, directory structure is messy. At minimum, we can use it as a proof of concept.
Yeah, if you could put the link to that repo in here.
984. Yeah.
Yeah, once you get it ready, you don't have to do it now.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd be very curious to see how an MCP actually generates an MCP, you know?
Right. How an agent generates an MCP.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you're curious, if you ever want to get, I've literally gone nuts with creating MCP servers. I've probably created about 10 to access tools that have APIs, but not MCP servers.
yep,
But it comes with all the noise or mud of vibe coding, right? That
yep.
it's not the cleanest, most elegant code. But yeah, I'll share it with you.
Yeah, because you've been able to do that for a bunch of different APIs, that we may end up needing one or creating one for Jenkins itself based on the Jenkins APIs.
Yes.
Because they may not have exactly what we need, and I don't think the Jenkins community has released the MCP yet, so we may end up doing a subset of their API endpoints to get what we need for our work.
Yeah, there are, and I'll say there are actually some Jenkins MCP servers out there. I discovered them after I started creating my own, again, for this overall proof of concept.
Oh, cool.
Uh, um, uh, what I can look to do, is there an issue or a ticket that I could maybe collect? I could create, where would you want me to share that information? I can go look to identify some of the Jenkins servers. I can also go look to revive the work I had done a couple of months ago.
The easiest is in the Ortelius repo is where we keep all of our issues. So just create a new issue out there with the info.
Okay.
So we use the main Ortelius repo as our issue tracking
Yeah.
place. So
I'm
instead of
there
them all
now.
being spread out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in there now. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the link to my current iteration of the of the MCP against 984 with the warning it's not gonna be the cleanest, and then I'll look to follow up with
Yep,
with
perfect.
I will say it is pretty cool to be able to go to Claude. Let me see if I might be able to, if anybody's interested, just kind of a very, very light sort of art of the possible. Let's close this. Is to be able to find, let me see what I did. So I was having trouble with access. I said, can you access Ortelius now? Find one vulnerability in the Ortelius application. I got confused about the MCP name and the tools. Found that it had a few tools which it can use to try to find a vulnerability. And just, through natural language, here's what I found when scanning the Ortelius application for vulnerabilities. High severity in Spring Core, medium severity in Jackson Data Bind. This is when we ended up going out and I ended up finding a bunch of the tools that I thought were working were not working. But ultimately, you laugh, Steve, vibe coding. Right?
Yeah, you end up going down these rabbit holes. You think it's gonna be the greatest thing ever, and then you get there and you go, "Yeah, they didn't.
Oh, it is
They never finished implementing what you needed."
It is like an abusive relationship. It is such an emotional roller coaster. One minute you're like, "This is the best thing in the world. I can't believe I just did that fast." and then you spend the other 80% of the time uncovering everything that is wrong,
Right.
right?
It's
Uh,
lying to you.
but this, but it was nice to be able to do a query, summarize the vulnerability counts, the 10 components, etc., all here with natural language. Um, and I'll look to get together their fully working examples. Then because it couldn't generate a remediation plan using the API, it just took its own stab at a remediation plan.
Yep.
Uh, um, but uh, but definitely interesting to see what the possibility would be to having a natural language interface to query and act between Jenkins and Ortelius.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the concepts that I've come up with, um, and this is kind of building on what you did, Brian, and what Utkarsh has done, um, is let's say you take you create a configuration file, and the configuration says, "This is how I connect to GitHub. This is how I connect to Jenkins. This is how I connect to Ortelius. This is how I." There's one other tool that we may need in there. Maybe one of the SBOM tools or the OpenSSF scorecard. And basically, you give it the base configuration to the MCPs on how it could connect, and then when we go through and say, okay, I want you to go and check Ortelius for this application environment. Give me the list of the high and critical vulnerabilities and the corresponding repos. Go back over to GitHub and say, okay, GitHub, go clone those repos for me, and then come back to Ortelius and say, now apply the package dependency fixes to those cloned repos. Go back to GitHub and say, push them. Give me the results of the build if they were successful. If everything's successful, now let's go ahead and create a upstream PR to merge the stuff. So that was kind of what I'm thinking, and we could get a little even more flexible in that because we can either use the default GitHub actions on the fork, or we could dynamically generate our own actions saying, I want you, when you build for this package, I want you to include an SBOM, I want you to include the OpenSF scorecard, I want you to do some ZAP proxy testing, that type of thing. So you can actually build up a dynamic workflow as part of that we go through at the fork and let it run on the GitHub Actions as well. So we can gather additional information dynamically at that level. So there's some ways that we can kind of use the MCPs to be the orchestrator of the pipelines instead of it all being hard coded.
I think Brian was almost there, but yeah, the difference between the Brian implementation and mine implementation is I'm working more like creating an abstracted pipeline.
Yep.
So that we cannot really use the abstraction decline that Brian was using, right? So later, if we want to add any other functionality into our workflow, it would be much more simpler to add some decision making there.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, a couple of related comments. What I did, of course, is yes, I'm going directly against the API, which is we're already seeing you're specking out, creating new endpoints, is not necessarily efficient. Two is it's brittle. Three is I work with other MCPs. Um, there is this concept, a great article, if any of you have come across, um, about tools polluting the context memory. Going on
Yeah,
the tangent,
yeah.
I've learned this because I am running about 20 MCP tools. And I ended up finding I have context in Claude Code that lasted about 5 minutes, and it would blow away when you look at the context breakdown. So this idea of we need to start reducing our tool surface, which then means, to your point, Utkarsh, We need a more intelligent layer between the actual API endpoints and the tools that we expose to the agents, so we can have optimized an optimized tool surface, if that makes sense. So I think what I see in the
Yeah.
diagram you put together, Utkarsh, ultimately makes a lot more sense for multiple reasons.
Yeah, and this was the same discussion that we had earlier with John. So how I implement MCP is I add one layer which try to find out the context, which will be cost effective model, let's say Heroku or something. So this will be like a less, we won't be burning a lot of cost because all these like prompts will be going through these low cost LLM, and
Yeah.
this will find out what is the context, and the context will find out what tools they have to use. Because if you're using at this point 3 MCPs inside your, let's say, another agent, this will end up adding like, let's say, 20, 40, or 50 tools. And as you said, all those data as a JSON go into the context, and they will burn up your cost pretty quick.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. And there's one I just threw out there in the chat. I don't know if you guys heard of the one called Dagger from Google.
I have. I don't think I've used it though.
I don't know if it's going to be of use, but somebody told me about it. But yes, I definitely like the approach that we're kind of honing in on, where we know MCPs are not the cleanest. And at the same time, like what Utkarsh was able to implement a filter or a preprocessor to that context will definitely help not only give us cleaner results but also keep our costs down.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we could have like used tool calling or LangChain kind of workflow, but we want to use the intelligence of these MCPs.
Yep.
So it makes more sense to use MCPs to find out the context and later refine those tools that we want to use.
Yep. And in kind of like one of my goals that I have is being able to plug in very easily a new tool into the pipeline without having to go and update any files. You just say I want to add in what's a tool that came out. Let's say I want to add in Chekhov or something like that to do some deep analysis of static code analysis. So I explicitly want to have Chekhov as part of my pipeline. Being able to add that in just through a prompt would be great. Just prompt or in the config, like I said, these are the tools I want you to be able to leverage at that level. Some of the other ones I ran into that I had to really take a deep dive into was it wasn't Kix. There's another one that I needed for AWS and Fargate. Oh, some of the like AWS Guard Duty type of thing to make sure there's it was one from Checkmark. So Checkmark provided one that would allow you to look at a container to see if it was trying to break out and do like Bitcoin mining and stuff like that. Loading a file directly, an executable directly into memory without it existing on disk. Those type of things was one of these Checkmark tools was doing. That we should be able to just plug and play these things. And when the next tool comes along, we're able to go and do this, and we're a simple one-line change is what I'm looking at, allows us to apply that change to thousands of repos.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
That's the dream. Got to live the
Yeah.
dream.
So
Anything-
there was a lot discussed here. I could not keep up on notes. Steve, Brian.
I will see what the AI kicked out.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, if you could just
if-
include that in the notes, that would be great.
Yeah, the AI agent was running on my Zoom here. Let's see, AI companion. Never used it before, so
We can sort it out. Or just summarize it.
yeah. If not, I know what I said, so I
Yeah,
can.
just a summary would be great. That's
Yeah.
all.
So, and try to think. Yeah, we'll be able to get it. So, anything else? Does anybody have anything else? Alrighty then. Like I said, go peruse those issues, create new ones. If there's something you want to work on, or if I missed, feel free to go ahead and add the Hacktoberfest tags. If you're interested in any of them, please assign yourself and just put a little note in there that you need more detail to me, just to prompt me to go and get those details for you in the issue. Like I said, I just threw them out there as a starting point, and we just need to build upon them. Alrighty, thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.